Write down the total number of outcomes possible in each situation. Assume all coins are fair, all dice are normal, 6-headed dice, deck of cards 52. All right, so what we're doing on this problem is thinking about the total number of outcomes possible. So if you flip a coin, then roll a die, how many different things can happen? Well, that's an action followed by an action, isn't it? So if you flip a coin, what can happen? You can get heads or tails on that coin. And then you roll a die. When you roll the die, you could get heads on the coin and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 on the die. And the same possibilities if you got tails the first time. So this is the die. So when all is said and done, how many possibilities are there? Let's just go through it and highlight it. You could get heads on the coin and a 1 on the die. Or you could get heads and then a 2, or heads and then a 3, or heads and then a 4, etc. So you could get 6 different things that happen here, right? This is 6 possibilities, and this is 6 possibilities. In other words, it's 2 times 6. So the quick way to do this in the future, so we don't have to make the whole tree, is just to say, when you flip a coin, there's 2 things that can happen, times when you roll a die, there are 6 things that can happen, 12 total outcomes can happen. So that is called the multiplication principle. It basically goes like this. When you have action number 1, action number 2, action number 3. We only have 2 actions in this one, but sometimes there's more. So you just take the number of outcomes that are possible, and you multiply by the number of outcomes that are possible for action number 2, etc. You just multiply those together because it's just going to be a big old tree. This is, you write out the word here, this is the multiplication, or it's also called the counting multiplication principle. So you'll be teaching younger folks this idea. This is in the K through 8 curriculum. So the counting multiplication principle, that is if you have an action and another action and another action, you just multiply together the number of outcomes possible for each action. So if we're flipping a coin, there's 2 possibilities, 2 possible outcomes, heads or tails, roll a die, 6 possible things that can happen, 1 through 6, multiply those together, 12 total outcomes, as we can see in this tree right here. 2 branchings, each of those having 6 branchings. So the rest now should be quicker and easier for us. Let's try. 2 coins are flipped. 2 coins are flipped. So how are we gonna do that with 2 coins being flipped? Well, the first coin, there's 2 possibilities. The second coin, there's 2 possibilities. And then 2 dice are rolled, 6 possibilities and 6 possibilities. That's 4 actions, isn't it? Flip a coin, roll a die, and you just multiply those all together. I'm not going to show the tree, it would be huge. If you multiply all those together on your calculator, you get 144. Let's try another one. 3 coins are flipped. Every time you flip a coin, there's 2 possible outcomes, heads or tails. heads or tails, heads or tails. There's 3 coins being flipped, and then a die, a single die, 6 possible outcomes. Multiply those together, and that comes out to be 48. 8 times 6, 48. Next, we're going to flip 2 coins. So if you flip 2 coins, that's 2 times 2, because every coin has 2 possible outcomes, heads or tails. And then a card is drawn. Now, this means a card from a deck. If you go back up here, you can see it. There's 52 cards. If you don't know that, there's 52 cards in a deck. So if you're going to draw 1 card from a deck, there's 52 possible outcomes. And so multiplying those together, 2 times 2 times 52 will be 208 total possible outcomes from 2 flips of a coin and drawing a card. 208 different things that can happen. Next, 2 dice are rolled. That's 6 times 6. 6 outcomes, and then a card times 52. 52 different things can happen when you grab a card out of a deck. And I'm getting 1872 total outcomes are possible. Last one, coming down here, 1 coin is flipped, so that's 2 possibilities, times, and then a die is rolled, 6 possible outcomes, and then 1 card is drawn, 52 possible outcomes. 12 times 52, 624 total possible outcomes. So that's the counting multiplication principle. When we do action after action after action, we just multiply together the number of outcomes possible for each of those actions to get the total outcomes possible for all the actions put together. It's just the idea of a big old tree branching and branching. It's the counting multiplication principle. We just multiply those together.